Hi, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about some books that are releasing in 2023 that I'm very excited for. So I made a video like this last year for 2022 releases, so I wanted to do the same this year because there's just so many books that are coming out in the next year. And so I wanted to share all the ones that I'm planning to read. Obviously, there's probably so many more. I'm probably missing some, and there's going to be books announced throughout the year, of course. But as of now, these are the ones that I know about that I'm really excited for. So yeah, let's just get into the video. So the first book on my list is Happy Place by Emily Henry. So I absolutely love Emily Henry. I've loved all the books that I've read by her so far. They've all been amazing. She's definitely one of my favorite authors. So when she announced Happy Place, of course, I was excited because it's Emily Henry. But the synopsis of this book, like, I just love the concept of it. I feel like I'm gonna be obsessed with this book. Like, I really feel like this is gonna be my new favorite Emily Henry book, and I have a really good feeling about this book just being one that I love and just becoming like an all-time favorite, like, comfort read for me. But basically it follows these two characters that go to, I guess, like some sort of like vacation house with their friends. They have like a friend group, and so these two main characters have been dating for years. They've just always been so like in love and just like this perfect couple. However, they just broke up and no one knows yet, so they decide to keep that a secret from all their friends while they're on this trip. And so they're just continuing to like fake date, and they're having to obviously share a room, and I'm assuming share a bed, and obviously they're not together anymore, but they're having to pretend to be together for their friends. So yeah, I just love the idea of this book so much. Obviously it's like a second chance and it's fake dating, and then also I love the idea of them having like this close friend group. So I'm hoping it like lives up to all the expectations that I have for it, because I have really high hopes for this one. I don't know why, there's just something about it, and I feel like she never misses with her books. Like, they usually meet my expectations, so I'm excited for this one. I can't wait to read it. It's definitely like my #1 on this list. And the release date for this book is April 25th. The next book is Final Offer by Lauren Asher, another one that I'm so excited for. This is the third book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. So the first two books, I read them in early 2022 and I loved them so much. And so with Final Offer, this one is about the third brother. This series follows 3 brothers. They're all billionaires. They are basically like the heirs of this company that is like the equivalent of Disney. So their grandfather is like basically like the Walt Disney in this universe, where he created this whole like company with movies and theme parks and all of that. And so he passes away and he leaves an inheritance for each brother, but he leaves each of them with tasks that they have to follow through with in order to get their inheritance. And so each book just follows each brother like following through with those things. And so the third brother, he has to reconnect with his childhood friend slash ex-girlfriend. So I can't wait for this one. Obviously it's going to be second chance romance with like childhood friends to lovers to like, I'm assuming they don't like each other anymore, and then obviously they reconnect again. So I just love the idea of that trope. I just feel like this one's gonna be so good. And of course the brother that it follows is Cal, and he was introduced from the first book and I've loved him since the first book. I feel like everyone has. I feel like he just kind of like steals the show every time he's in a scene. So I'm excited for this book. I'm excited to see more of him because he's kind of seen as like the goofy like middle brother who doesn't really take anything seriously. So I can't wait to see like this other side of him and like kind of get to know him better as a character. This one comes out on January 31st, so I can't wait for this one. I'll definitely be reading it as soon as I can. The next book is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This one, I actually don't really know what it's about, but I'm pretty sure it's like a like pen pal type story, secret admirer type thing, and I don't really know the context of it. Maybe I should look it up before I start talking about it. So in this one, they're neighbors, and I believe she writes him a letter that she leaves for him, where obviously she doesn't like sign that it's from her, but he knows it's from someone from his past. So they did know each other when they were younger, I guess. And so at this point he is trying to figure out who wrote this letter, but at the same time he's getting to know her as a person, not knowing that she wrote the letter. But it seems like a cute concept, so I'm excited for this one. And then there's also a second book following it called Unfortunately Yours. So if I like the first one, obviously I'll read the second one too, and that one I know is a marriage of convenience, and that's about all I know about it. But Secretly Yours comes out on February 1st, and then Unfortunately Yours comes out on June 7th. The next book is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I actually don't know what this book is about either, so I should look that up. So this book basically follows a woman who works in STEM, obviously because all of Ali Hazelwood's books deal with people that work in STEM. And so in this one, the main character is a professor, I'm pretty sure, but she also has this side job where she is like a fake girlfriend or fake date for people whenever they need one. But then I guess the other main character of this book is the older brother of one of her clients, and so that's how she kind of ends up running into him. But she already knows him and she doesn't like him because of something that he did, and he's also on the hiring committee of her dream job. So obviously this one has like some enemies to lovers in there. They work in STEM, obviously some similar like aspects to her other books that she's written. So I've always enjoyed her books. They obviously all have some similar storylines and tropes in there, but I've always thought they were interesting interesting even then. So I definitely want to read this one because I've enjoyed her book so far, and this one will be released on June 13th. The next book is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. So I just looked up this book and I just realized that it's part of the Mr. Wrong Number series, which I have not read Mr. Wrong Number yet, but I didn't know that this was connected to that book, so now I know that it is. So I'll probably read Mr. Wrong Number before I get to this one, but I had just seen this book and I read the synopsis and it sounded really interesting, so that's why I added it to this list. So in this book, the two main characters, they come across each other on a dating app. However, they have met before. I guess they had a one-night stand and it didn't really work out. It just obviously was a one-night stand and that was it. And so at this point they start talking through the app and they kind of come to this agreement that obviously there's nothing between them. And so the two of them decide that since there's nothing between them, they're gonna kind of partner up together to find the one, like, for themselves. And so they start going on dates with other people and they kind of like are texting each other about these dates, and they start scheduling these dates for the same time, like at the same restaurant, so that way if the date goes badly they have each other afterwards, like for moral support. And they kind of create this wager to see who can find true love first. So it kind of goes from there, but I guess eventually they end up being fake dates for a wedding, and that's kind of where things turn for the two of them because they're having to fake date each other. I'm assuming the wedding would be for the characters from the first book. Maybe that would be interesting if it was. But yeah, this one just seems like a cute concept. It kind of reminds me of Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, and that's one of my favorite rom-coms ever. I loved that book so much, so I feel like this is a very similar concept to that, so I feel like I'm gonna like it. I also love Lynn Painter. I mean, I've only read one of her books, but I really enjoyed it, so this one is one that I definitely want to read. So this one comes out on March 14th. So the next book is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. So Carly Fortune just released her debut novel in 2022. It was Every Summer After, and I read that one back in June when it was released, so this is obviously her second book. And first of all, I just love the cover of it. I think both of her covers are really pretty, so I really love how this one looks. Honestly, I didn't love Every Summer After because of the whole like twist of what happened. It kind of ruined the story for me, but I did really love the writing of it. I thought it was a really great book. Like, I was actually really enjoying it and I was just very into this book, and then the twist just kind of ruined it. I ended up not loving this book as much as I was hoping to, but this one I do have high hopes for it because I did enjoy that last book for the most part, so I feel like since I enjoyed her writing and everything, like I'm hoping I like this one too. So this one I definitely want to give it a chance, even though I didn't necessarily love her last book. It was a good book, it just wasn't for me, like with where the story went. But besides that, I do think it was actually a really good book. And so basically with this one, it's also second chance romance where they met at one point when they were younger and now it's like years later. But this one's kind of interesting because they had only met for like a day, I think. Like, they only spent like 24 hours together, but they had this amazing connection, and I guess they were supposed to meet up again a year later, and she showed up but he didn't, and now it's like 9 years later and they run into each other again somehow. I'm not really sure how, and he's just completely different from how he was when they first met years ago. And so she's trying to figure out like where his life kind of went that made him so different from how he was all those years ago. And this one comes out on May 2nd. The next book is Do I Know You by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. So I think this is a couple that writes books together. They also wrote The Roughest Draft, which I have not read yet, but with this book, when I found out about it and read the synopsis, I knew immediately that I was going to want to read it. So this one follows a married couple, which I've said this before, I love the marriage reconciliation trope. I'm assuming that's kind of what this one is, but basically they kind of feel like they're married to a stranger at this point, and they end up going on this little getaway for their 5-year anniversary, and one of the guests where they're staying assumes that the two of them are strangers and don't know each other, so they introduce the two of them to each other, and they don't correct this person. They kind of just like play along and pretend like they don't know each other, and it kind of just starts like this whole thing where they continue to play along and they start to like flirt with each other and like are kind of getting to know each other all over again and acting like they're not a married couple, obviously, and through that they kind of start to like find that spark again in their marriage. So that's what this one's all about. I feel like it just sounds really interesting, really cute. I am excited for it. I know they wrote The Roughest Draft, like I said. I've heard good things about that one, so I have high hopes for this one, even though I haven't read anything by them yet. But yeah, this one is one that I'm really excited to read, and this one comes out on January 24th. So the next book is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. So this book follows a character that we meet in The Soulmate Equation, which is also by Christina Lauren. That book was released in 2021, and I really loved that book. So this one follows the best friend of the main character from that book, and basically in this book she is actually a romance author, and so she has a really successful career doing that, but she's never really been in love before, so she kind of feels like she's just selling this lie. And then the other main character of the story is this guy who I guess creates like films and does like documentaries, and so now his boss wants him to do a reality show, which is very much like out of what he normally does, so he's kind of struggling with what to do with that, and he ends up running into Felicity, who's the other main character, and so it's kind of like a chance meeting where it works out perfectly for both of them. So he proposes like this show idea of her finding love, and like obviously people will be interested in like the romance author trying to find love, and so she eventually agrees to that because it also works out for her in finding someone, obviously, since she's never been in love. So it kind of just goes from there. Obviously the two of them start to fall for each other. So this one, like I said, I'm excited for it because I loved The Soulmate Equation. So yeah, this one seems really cute. I love Christina Lauren. I haven't read one of their books in a long time. I need to get back into them, but this one comes out on May 16th. The next book is Wild Ever After by Rebecca Genshak. So this book is part of a series. The first book in the series is Wildcat, and I read that one in April this past year, and I really liked it. And then the second book came out in July, I think, and I also really enjoyed that one. So I've been looking forward to this one because it follows a character that we meet in the very first book. It's like the best friend of the main character of the first book, and basically she works for this wedding magazine, and she kind of decides to get engaged to her boyfriend in order to have content to like write for this magazine and like kind of talk about planning a wedding. And you get to see like little pieces of that throughout the books of her like kind of planning her wedding to this guy. But in this book we find out that her fiance just dumped her like right before the wedding, and so now she's like planned this whole wedding, and it's like part of her job and everything. Like she's supposed to be writing about her wedding planning process and like about her actual wedding for the wedding magazine. And so one of the hockey players on this hockey team, she obviously like knows them at this point because she's been hanging out with them since her best friend is dating one of them. He ends up agreeing to marry her. So obviously it's a marriage of convenience. I don't really know the circumstances of like why he agrees to marry her because it seems really random. Like he wouldn't just do it for no reason, obviously. I mean, maybe he would, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed the first two books a lot, and I love Marriage of Convenience, so I'm excited for this one. I don't know who the male main character of it is. I know he's obviously been introduced already because you meet all the characters throughout the series, and obviously they all are like friends with each other. So I really like that with this series where you see all these like friendships forming with everyone, and you kind of get like hints of who is coming next with like each of the couples and all of that. So yeah, so I'm excited to read this one, and this one comes out on February 7th. So the next few books I'm going to mention are books that follow other books in a series, but I haven't read those other books in the series, so technically like I need to read those books first before I can get excited about these, but I'm planning to read those books before these come out. So the first one is King of Pride by Anna Huang. The first book in the series is King of Wrath, and I have not read the series yet, but I really want to get into it. I'm excited for it, so I'm definitely planning to read the first book before the second one comes out. So the second one's being released this year. I'm not sure if the third one is also being released this year. It might be, but this one is one where I can't get too excited about it yet because I need to read the first book first, but once I do, I'll be excited for this book. And then the next book is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, which again, I have not read the first book that comes before this one, which is Part of Your World. I want to read it very soon. It is a high priority for me, so I'm hoping to read it before Yours Truly comes out. That way I can be excited for this book once it's out. But yeah, those are the books that I need to read the first books first before I can get excited for the second ones. But the second ones will be releasing this year, and I'm definitely planning to hopefully read them. So those are all of my most anticipated releases for 2023. Definitely let me know any of your thoughts on any of these books, or let me know what books you're excited to read next year. That's pretty much it for this video. If you liked this and you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would stick around and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.